Hi. So it's been a couple of weeks since I recorded my first couple of videos. Not that it's been that long since the last one got uploaded. They were just things that I was taking my time to make sure that I edited and got out properly. There's still one more that I recorded that may or may not come out. I'm just not 100% sure how interesting it is for everyone, so I've just sort of put it on the back burner for the moment, and I'm going to record some more new ones. I'm outside at the moment, obviously. I'm in my car, not driving, definitely not driving. So hopefully the noise from the road and the cars going past isn't too distracting, but I just thought I had some time on my hands and waiting for my daughter to finish one of her musical theatre things, so it's a good time to do some recording. Hopefully the car sounds alright. If it doesn't, then you'll never see this video anyway, because I'll just put it on the back burner. So I just wanted to give a bit of an update on the weight loss journey, considering that's the primary focus of the channel, even though I will talk about my writing from time to time. It's going pretty well. It's obviously surgery still a couple of weeks away, like 19 days or something now, I think it is, as of recording this, which is Saturday the 6th of July. So it's sort of still exciting, and I'm still looking forward to it. I'm still, a little bit nervous about what it's going to bring. I've had 1 week now on shakes, or 1 working week on shakes, I should say, because this is my first weekend on liquid only, which is probably going to be the difficult times more than the rest of it, because Monday to Friday when you're at work, it's easy to be disciplined. When you're at home with your family and they want to have other things, or they want to cook brownies, or do some baking or cooking or anything like that, it does get a little bit harder. But yeah, so I think the weekend's going to be my test, especially this weekend, because we've got a lot of running around to do. So it's the sort of weekend where we'd usually fall into the habit of just quickly grabbing some food for takeout. So yeah, it should be very interesting to see how that works. But it's still exciting, and so far since starting on the shakes, I've lost about 6 kilos, and this is the thing, like, that's probably more than I've ever lost before, and I think part of that is due to the medications that I'm taking as well. But the other thing, there's a little voice in the back of my head that goes, well, maybe you don't need surgery, maybe you just need to be doing the shakes more regularly and looking after it that way. But I know that this isn't sustainable, and if I didn't have the fear of what might happen in surgery sort of making me lose as much as possible in as short a time as possible between now and the surgery date, I don't know that I would still be as disciplined as I have been so far. And even saying disciplined, there was a few days where I started it early where I did sort of allow myself to slip a little bit, because I didn't want to put too much pressure on myself. I sort of wanted to ease into it a little bit. But now that I'm on strict, I think if I didn't have that threat of what might happen to your liver and, needing to get that out of the way for surgery hanging over my head, it would be a lot harder to actually sort of stick to the diet. Like I said, the few days that I didn't have to do it religiously, I sort of slipped a little bit. Not enough that it would have stopped any weight loss in the long term, but those little slips add up and add up and add up, and that's part of what my fear was going into the surgery. But it's also, it's human nature, I think, and to deny ourselves everything is impossible. So it's just a matter of learning how to allow those slip-ups without letting them derail. And I think that's where the surgery is going to have a benefit, in that I can actually learn how to make myself, be forced to have those slip-ups. And in case you're wondering, because, you haven't explored gastric surgery or anything, what the nurse explained to me is basically, so for people who have extra weight, the liver can get quite fatty, and that fatty liver can actually go in front of the stomach and create a bit of an access issue for the doctor as they're doing the bypass. So the idea behind getting the shakes and doing a massive pre-op diet is to shrink the liver down so that they can operate around it. If you can't do that, if you don't do it well enough, if you're not successful enough, they basically have to retract your liver, and that just basically means holding it in place with a retractor for the length of the surgery, and there are risks of complications that increase significantly when that happens. So your liver can actually rupture, and it's just not nice to think about, and it's not something that I want to happen. So I would rather just stick a bit more religiously to things. And like I said, it's been a week so far. I've been going okay. So we'll keep plugging along and see what happens up until the surgery. I haven't taken any measurements yet. I've only been doing my weight, which I do need to get into measurements, I think, because ultimately, especially as I get closer and closer to a goal weight as such, it will be the clothes sizes and the inches that continue to shift that are a motivating factor rather than the weight, because weight can fluctuate by muscle and by water loss and all that sort of thing. So if I can get a record of how many centimeters I am around the neck, the waist, the hips, the bust, that sort of thing, it'll give me something to motivate once that sort of starts to reduce, and I can add it up and work out a total centimeters lost from my body as time goes on. So it'd be nice to have a base starting point for that, but I just haven't got there yet. Which is probably pretty bad, because realistically the base was a week ago, because all of this pre-surgery weight loss does add up to the total overall weight loss. They reckon that you should lose 8% ideally of the excess weight before surgery. So the dietitian thinks that I've got about 50 to 60 kilos of excess weight. So if I'm pretty much already at the 8% now, so I just need to maintain where I'm at, and hopefully that will mean that the liver's been reduced enough, and fingers crossed there's no complications during surgery. So typical day for me, which this actually surprised me a little bit because I was expecting something super restrictive. I've got a list of fruit and veggies that I can have, and basically it's the ones that you would think of, so carrots, lettuce, cabbage, and stuff like that. Ones I'm not allowed are the ones that you would expect not to be allowed on a diet. So the starchy sort of potatoes and sweet potatoes and peas and corn, things that are a bit more starchy and harder to digest easily. So basically the diet for me is a shake in the morning. So one of the OptiFast shakes are the specific ones that they requested we go on, because they can be made on water and still sort of taste okay. So one of those in the morning, and then some fruit for morning tea. So I've been having berries and passion fruit for the morning tea, and then another shake and a salad for lunch. So I've just been having carrots and cabbage basically for lunches, with a shake, and then afternoon tea, another piece of fruit. So I've been having something like an apple, and then for dinner a shake. And it does say to have a salad if you're hungry, but I haven't really been that hungry. Like, as it is, that's a lot more food than I will usually eat in a day. So I almost feel more full most of the time with this diet than I do otherwise. Some evenings, just so I can get the sensation of food rather than shakes, I've been having the chocolate dessert that OptiFast do rather than the shake, and it's not as nice. There was definitely a bit of a learning curve as to how to serve it correctly to have it be really palatable even. And basically what I worked out was the best is cold water, and then put it in the freezer for a little bit. It turns into almost a soft gelati if you do that. Whereas with just fridge temperature water, there's just an aftertaste that just isn't very nice. But at least it gives you that sensation of having something a bit more fulfilling than just a shake. I've also been having soup as needed. It's been so cold, and I've had a cold, and you know, I've been a bit under the weather, so a bit of soup's been helping for that, just soothe the throat and all that sort of thing. Also having some Rubius tea, which is apparently going to be good for after surgery, because I'm not allowed caffeine after surgery. In the short term leading up to surgery, I can have caffeine, but considering I used to have 1 to 2 cans of Pepsi Max a day, cutting out the caffeine is definitely worth doing sooner rather than later, especially if I can do it on a slow gradient cut down, because yeah, I don't really want all the headaches and caffeine withdrawals after surgery, as well as everything else that you have to sort of go through to recover. Yeah, so that's pretty much an update. There's not a lot that's happening that's different. Like I said, just the different diet, and it's not as super restrictive as I thought it was going to be. Even the after surgery diet, it's not as restrictive as some of the other people I've seen on YouTube have. I know a lot of people talk about clear fluids and only clear fluids for a couple of days to a week afterwards. My dietitian basically said she's happy for me to start straight in on anything, so long as it's no thicker than milk. And so I've got a list of different things to do and a rough diet plan. So that'll be, you know, basically a shake for breakfast, some protein water for sipping throughout the day, another shake for lunch, protein water throughout the afternoon, and then another shake for dinner. So it will be a bit more strict at that point, but again, it's not down to the clear liquids, which I don't think would be as fun as being able to sort of have something that's filling from the beginning. So it's going to be interesting to see how long it takes me to have a shake. At the moment, they're about 2 mouthfuls and they're gone sort of thing. I can imagine that's not going to be the case anymore once the stomach is a bit smaller. So that will be a fun adjustment to have to do. But yeah, other than that, it's just been doing the normal things and getting on with it, doing what we need to do, and I'm, you know, counting down the days, counting down the kilos. I will see you all later. Bye.